On today's episode, why it's important that your cabinets are square, and I'm going to give you multiple ways on how to do it. Now, this is a project I've been building in my shop this week, and the customer gave me his plans and dimensions for it. Now, although it looks super easy, I had all kinds of problems with it. I'll tell you more about that later. But first, I want to thank the good folks over there at Woodcraft for sponsoring today's episode. Woodcraft has the right peoples with the right tools so you get the job done right. Woodcraft, their goal is helping you make wood work. Okay, so the biggest issue I had in building this simple structure was keeping it square. And what do I mean by that? Well, let me show you the very basics. So when I'm talking about keeping something square, my goal is to keep all the angles in the unit at 90 degrees. Now this can seem rather simple because you think if your pieces are the same length and you put them together, you should have a true 90 degrees. But many times this is what happens. My measurements are the same length, but you can see we're at two different angles here. This is what they call racking. And there's a couple of methods to fix this. The first method to fix that racking issue is using a clamp. So here's how that clamp can fix our situation. In this case, we want to take our tape measure and we want to measure diagonally from corner to corner. And what we're shooting for is the same measurement both directions. So let's just go real simple with this. Let's say from here to here, I get 100. And let's say from here to here, I get 98. So what I'm shooting for is 99. And how to do that, I would simply take my clamp and you would tighten down on the clamp, which is going to shift this whole thing. It's going to squeeze this side and move it over. And you would do that and keep checking until you get your even measurement on both sides. My problem is there's no way I have a clamp that's going to be long enough to go from corner to corner. So here's a few suggestions and tips that will help you square a unit like this up. The first suggestion is make your face frame first. That way you can make sure that your face frame is perfectly square, and then you can build the carcass to that. In fact, I really love this large speed square, and there's a lot of uses for this. In fact, I might even do a video on this in itself in a future date. But this is a tool that I highly recommend. Now on this unit, I didn't build the face frame first, and the reason is you can see that these are at two different depths on it. Plus, they share this common divider here. So I thought it would be easier for me to make the carcass first and then the face frame second. Another suggestion is build the carcass and then attach the back panel. If the back is cut and it's all square, when you apply it, you can shift or rack the carcass to it and then secure the back on it, and that will keep the whole unit in place. However, on this one, I didn't attach the back yet because I wanted to be able to get in with my spray gun from the front and back and spray it so I get a nice even and smooth finish to it. The next suggestion to help you is a quick tip that I did many years ago, and it's so simple. You just take some scrap plywood and drill 3 holes in it. Now it's important to make sure that your scrap plywood is square. Now you can place this into the unit and you would take your clamps and attach them in all 3 holes. Now the idea is that if this unit was out of square, if it was racked, when I place that clamp on there and draw them in, it's going to square this whole unit up for you. But on this unit, I would need a bunch of these plywood squares to go in it and a whole bunch of clamps. So let me show you one last method that I use to square this up. Okay, for simplicity's sake, let's just use some easy numbers. Let's say that from the top of this unit to that lower corner, I have 100 inches. And from that top corner to this bottom one, I have 98. And again, I want to shoot for 99. I want to shift that over so both directions equal 99 inches. So what I did was I have a scrap piece of plywood here, and I cut points on each of the ends of this. Now what I'll do is in this unit, I want to make sure that this piece of wood is slightly larger than the opening it's going into. Now when I put this in diagonally, I can start to get it to fit. Now if I take a mallet, a rubber mallet, and slowly tap on this, what it's going to do is it's going to put pressure up in that corner and it's going to shift it over. So I can do this, take my measurements until I get that 99 inches, and then I can go ahead and build my face frame to get it all square and hold it in place. And that's exactly what I did on this unit here. So there you are, 4 different ways on how to get your cabinet square. Now, why is that so important? Well, for my case here, when they put in the adjustable shelves, if this is racked or isn't square, those are going to be on angles and it's not going to look very nice. The other reason too is when the carpenter takes this and goes to install it, well, he's just simply going to be using his level. He's going to be checking to make sure that it's plumb and that it's level. And he's looking at that bubble. So he's going to force this to try to become square, and there could be even more problems that result then. Also too, keep in mind, if you're building something that would have doors or drawers on it, it being out of square is going to give you all kinds of problems with the way the door is closed, the way the drawer is shut on it. It's really important to, from the beginning, make sure that your unit is square. Now, if you're interested in building some projects like this for around your home, there's a few books that I recommend. The first one is by the folks over at Fine Home Building called Finished Carpentry. This has a lot of great tips in doing baseboard, crown molding, and building simple cabinet units. Another one is by Glenn Huey, The Trim Carpenter for the Homeowner. Again, he shows you how to do a lot of different trim and shows you some projects in there in which he had built and how he went about installing it. And lastly, if you think you really want to get into building cabinets for a living, then I highly recommend that you first read the book by Jim Tolpin's The Guide to Becoming a Professional Cabinet Maker. He spells it all out for you and makes sure that you go down the right path. If you have an interest in any of those books, I'll have links below in the description. Now, if you have questions on a project you're working on in your shop, well, feel free to write me at woodchoppingtime@gmail.com, because my whole goal is to make you a better woodworker. Until next time. Oh, I forgot to tell you, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that although this project seemed like it was easy, I ran into a whole bunch of problems. If you would like to read all the ridiculousness that I ran into with this, well, there's a link below in the description to the blog article on that. Also, too, if you're a regular viewer of the show, I want to tell you some videos that are coming up. Not too long ago, I had to flatten a large slab, and I decided to try and do the method that I see most people use online. Well, I'll explain and show what that method is and how I thought the results came out. Also too, recently you probably saw the video where I got a small CNC machine and I kind of gave my first impressions and thoughts about CNCs. And a lot of people watched that and wrote in and they were kind of curious, is a CNC machine something that can actually make money for your shop, or is it something that's just kind of like a gimmick for making little arts and crafty things? So I'll address that. Plus, I will show you the common problems that I ran into with it that were so frustrating. I'll share with what those are and how you can avoid it so you don't have the same mistakes. Okay, from now we can resume with our regular ending and, keep on dancing.